I have to say I'm super grateful that I put that baking sheet underneath of the springform pan and that I didn't have milk just going all over my kitchen. And if you saw that and you saw me putting that in the springform pan and you were thinking, come on now, Ashley, what is wrong with you? Just, if you want to come at me in the comments, that's fine. I kind of deserve it. That was really stupid. But, you know, I'm learning. Bear with me here. I am learning. I'm not a baker. I've told you before. Just be a little patient with me, okay? And we are back with week 37 of the Women's World 52 Sunday Dinners, a cookbook from the 1920s that I found at an antique shop a few months ago and decided to do a whole series on. If this is your first time, hello, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Ashley. I'm a registered dietitian. I also have an antique business, and I'm combining those two things, food and vintage antiques, to bring you this series. Let's see what we are going to be making this week. We have beefsteak pie, Italian spaghetti, Brussels sprouts, celery, lettuce, and cheese salad, rice pudding, raisin cake, coffee, and tea. I'm getting a little bit of a later start than I expected, so we are going to do the rice pudding, which it specifies that it should be done the day before. It's supposed to be served chilled. We're also going to make the raisin cake, the other dessert that we'll be serving with that rice pudding. If we have time, we'll work on the beefsteak pie as well as the Italian spaghetti. The beefsteak pie and the Italian spaghetti both say that they can be made the day ahead of time and that no flavor or texture or quality will be lost by serving it the next day. We'll see what we get into. Let's go ahead, get an apron on, get into the kitchen, and get started with the desserts. You know, I'm really not great at reading and following instructions in my daily life. Usually when I cook, I take a recipe and I take pieces of it and then I just do whatever I want with it anyway. I don't ever follow a recipe. So I have been struggling a little bit with this. And I say all this because, as you saw moments ago, I was beating all of those ingredients in here, and as I continued to look at the recipe, it said to mix all or stir all of the ingredients thoroughly, do not beat. So I have gotten to the egg point where it said beat the eggs, but don't beat the rest of the ingredients. So we are now just going to mix in the eggs and the floured raisins, and we are not going to beat the whole thing together. Nice, gentle mix. This is really light and fluffy though. I don't know, I'm kind of glad I use the beaters and beat this whole thing up because, well, it's not mixing very well right now, but it will. But this, I wish you could feel this. It just feels so light and fluffy and whipped. It's pretty nice. If you've seen any of my past videos, you know this is the point at which I struggle a little bit, or the recipes struggle, or a mixture of both. Figuring out the size of pan to use for the recipe. And I chose this little one because, again, as I've mentioned in previous videos, I have cake pans. They're packed away somewhere. I remember that I need them at the point in which I am looking for the cake pan when I'm doing my recipes, and the minute that I stop recording these, I forget. So somebody please remind me, leave comments down below and remind me to dig out that darn pan. In the meantime, we're using the springform, and it looks to me like this is not the size. There's a lot of cake batter to fit in here? You know, instead of just shoving it in there, we're gonna go, I have the bigger one. We'll just go with the bigger one because this is gonna be a disaster. Let's try this one again. This size seems more appropriate. Let's try it out here. I don't know, I got it in there and now I kind of feel like it's not enough. And I kind of want to go back to this other one and try it. Wah! We were right the first time. This looks great. This is that smaller pan. It looks like there's plenty of room for this to rise, so let's pop it in the oven and get it going. It appears that my assumption that you could put liquid in a springform pan is incorrect, or this springform pan is not very good. Let's try this one again. I have to say I'm super grateful that I put that baking sheet underneath of the springform pan and that I didn't have milk just going all over my kitchen. And if you saw that and you saw me putting that in the springform pan and you were thinking, come on now, Ashley, what is wrong with you? Just, if you want to come at me in the comments, that's fine. I kind of deserve it. That was really stupid. But, you know, I'm learning. Bear with me here. I am learning. I'm not a baker. I've told you before. Just be a little patient with me, okay? We are starting to boil now, so we are going to let the crust form. If you saw one of the first videos where my sister came and helped me and she made the pie crust, she gave the advice that I should be chilling this pie crust dough for a while overnight, preferably before I roll it out. I was about to start rolling this out when I remembered her advice, and I am going to go ahead and chill this for at least a few hours. I have some stuff to do this evening, somewhere to be for a few hours. So I'm going to let this rest in the refrigerator until I get home from that, and then I will continue this when I get home. I do have to leave for something here in a little bit, but I think I have time to get this spaghetti bake dish done. How big were packages of pasta back then? And when they say spaghetti and then macaroni, is the macaroni the spaghetti, or am I supposed to use elbow noodles in addition to all this? I don't know. We are going to find out if I'm wrong together momentarily. It's dinner day, and last night when I got home from running that errand, I just genuinely did not feel like finishing off that beefsteak pie. So we are going to get that rolled out first thing and finish that off, bake the Italian spaghetti, make the Brussels sprouts, and the salad. If you like what you've seen so far, please consider liking and subscribing to this channel so that I can keep bringing you more content like this. And if you hate what you're seeing, what are you still doing here? Get out. In the meantime, we're gonna jump into the kitchen and get going. I thought I was gonna roll that out and it was going to just be beautiful and perfect, and this is what happened. It just came out in pieces, and I guess I'm just gonna press it in there as a dough. Hopefully that works. Here we are, we have it pressed in there. Hopefully, I see a little spot right there that might need a little more, but hopefully this works out okay. This is enough. Let's get it together and see what happens. The top crust is thin enough that when I set it out onto the top, the beef kind of cut through, so I don't think we really need to make any slits. It looks like there's plenty already made, and I kind of just, all the leftover that was on the side there, I kind of just rolled it over to make the crust, so hopefully this works out. Let's get both these main dishes into the oven. I'm not completely sure what scraping the celery, then cutting it into straws means. I don't know if that means maybe get the strings off of it. Is that what scraping is? Or am I supposed to like actually scrape? Actually, that seems to be getting the strings off a little bit, if this is what scraping celery is. I also am not sure what cutting it into straws means, because I couldn't drink through this. But I assume it just means into small pieces. So we'll go with the best that we know. If you know what scraping and cutting into straws is referring to, go ahead and leave it down in the comments below so that the rest of us who don't know can start learning. Oh, I think I scraped that too far. That's too much. I don't know. I don't even know if this is right, if this is what scraping is. Whoop! Whoopsie poopsie. I should probably be doing this on a cutting board, not straight on this countertop. This is weird. Seems like a waste of a lot of the celery. I don't think this is right. I have to be honest with you. Boiling these Brussels sprouts for 25 minutes and knowing that this is the way they're going to be served is kind of breaking my heart. Everyone knows that roasting and sauteing Brussels sprouts is the answer, not boiling them into mush. I really hope that they turn out okay because they're one of the best vegetables. Everything is prepared and ready to taste. Let's take a look here. Pie crust doesn't look too terrible. Brussels sprouts look like they were boiled to heck and back. They're a little sad and mushy looking. Spaghetti pie. All right, let's give it all a taste and see how it turned out. So far, it smells really good in here. I'm kind of smelling something reminiscent of French onion soup, which is interesting because the only thing with onion in it was a tiny bit of diced onion in this spaghetti pie over here, and it's been covered with layers of cheese and breadcrumbs and tomatoes, so I don't think that's what I'm smelling, but let's see. It might be this beefsteak pie. There's no onions in it, but I'm pretty sure it smells amazing. Well, looking at it, well, that's not the smell I was smelling, but if you can see, I don't know if you can see that there, the top pie crust seems like it might not be fully done. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. It's just very light, which is kind of surprising. It was in there over an hour. I expected the top to be a little bit darker. But actually, let's try this first. Then we'll do the spaghetti pie and then the Brussels sprouts. Let's try it. A little bit of the crust and the steak here. It's still pretty hot. I don't know if you can see the steam rising off of that. The pie crust, I think, might not be quite done, or it mixed with that liquid gravy and it's a little bit gooey, which personally I kind of like that texture. Most people I know don't. They prefer an actual crusty crust. Overall, it's kind of just plain. There's not a ton of flavor in here. It tastes like kind of dry. The meat is dry at the same time that it's kind of wet and gooey. It's overall not the best. Yeah, not a lot to say here to save this. It's okay. If I was starving, I would eat it, but overall it's not great. It's a waste of a lot of beef. Let's see if the 15-minute boiled pasta and then baked pasta is any better. And a few boiled Brussels sprouts on there. This does smell good. The peppers, you can smell distinctly the green peppers, the tomatoes, and the onions. You can smell all of it. It does smell very nice. It doesn't taste that nice. It's very bland. I mean, I can taste the onion, the pepper, and the tomato. I think I just flung some on my face there. But it's just very plain, bland. Let's try it with that crust from the top, the cheese and the breadcrumbs. Maybe that'll help it out. No. No. That actually almost makes it worse. The breadcrumbs did not get like crispy crumb topping. It seems like it just mixed with that tomato, and again, just like the pie was kind of mushy. And I'm guessing that with the way that we prepared these Brussels sprouts, that's going to be the theme of this meal, is mush. Man, why do they do Brussels sprouts like that? Brussels sprouts are so delicious. If you caramelize these in a skillet, you put a little bit of oil or bacon in cast iron, or you roast them in the oven, maybe put a little bit of honey on them. They're amazing. But they boiled them. Like, lemon juice isn't doing much to save these suckers. It just, yeah. I'm guessing that the kids that were sitting down to this meal probably were picky because, yeah, I'm an adult and I don't want to eat any of this. It's not great. All right. Let's go with our shaved celery straws with cheese and lettuce. It's okay. It tastes, again, just exactly like the ingredients. I will say, given the rest of this mushy meal, the crispness of this celery is kind of a nice departure. But yeah, overall, it kind of just tastes like celery, cheese, and lettuce. Maybe dessert will be the saving grace of this meal. Let's see. You know, this raisin cake actually I think looks pretty good. I personally don't have positive associations with raisins. When I think of raisins, usually I think of things that do not taste good, or they end up in places they have no business being, or whatever was made would have been better without the raisins, like an oatmeal raisin cookie. Everyone knows they would be way better with just the oatmeal. But you know, it rose nicely. It fell a little bit in the middle afterward, but overall this looks pretty good. Let's give it a try. See how she looks coming out. This is a little bit liquidy, this pudding. Doesn't seem to be the consistency that I associate pudding with. The recipe does say that it'll be like cream, and I don't know if that is meant to be the flavor or... I'm not really sure what happened to the audio here. It wouldn't play in my editing software, so we're doing just a little voiceover here. I am not sure whether that cream description is supposed to be the flavor or the texture here. It does look pretty gloopy and a little unappetizing, but we're gonna get a little bit of that crust there and see if it tastes much better than what it looks. All right, let's see that. We'll try it out. I'm gonna try the cake first without the pudding. We'll go kind of right in here and get some of that raisin. The cake seems to be very crumbly. The flavor is okay. It is very, very crumbly. It tastes rich. Hello? Hello?
Hello?
super rude to interrupt my dessert tasting. But as I was saying, the cake tastes rich. Like, I taste the butter in there, but it's just kind of missing something, and the raisins really don't add anything to it. Whatever it was missing was not made up for with the raisins. But let's try it with the rice. We'll try the rice pudding first, and then we'll try them together. Maybe they complement each other well. I really like this rice pudding. I would not call it pudding. That would not be the word I used for it. It's more like sweet rice and milk. Let's try it with the skin. Yeah, it goes right along the theme of mushy. Definitely, I expected something like a tapioca or rice pudding. It's not there, but the flavor is nice and it's not unpleasant. I'd like to try it and see if it complements the cake here, as they are to be served together. The cake is definitely helped by this rice pudding, but not enough to save it completely. Well, there you have it. If I had to describe this meal in 3 words, I think it would be sloppy, bland, and boring. Not one of these recipes would I try again. I think some of them certainly could be improved upon, but as is, sorry, Women's World, you didn't hit the mark with this one. Although this meal certainly did not hit it out of the park, join me next week where we try again, this time with some oyster soup, and I go on an adventure to try and find some veal for our veal loaf. See you next week.